friends. Welcome to Flosstube and Variety Show number 74. I had to look over at my computer because apparently, even though I looked at it 3 seconds before I turned on the video, I couldn't remember it. Number 74. That's amazing. That's really, I'm just amazed that I've made 74 videos and that you've watched them. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here. This morning, I'm Emilie Williams in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and today is Friday, March 24th, 2023, 32423. There's been all kinds of numerological stuff going on recently because of the palindrome dates. 32223 and 32323 recently, yesterday and the day before. Today isn't as palindrome, but it's still catchy. It's kind of like one of my great nephews was born on October 10th, 2020, 10/10/2020. I think that's fantastic. I will never forget his birthday. Anyway, Flosstube means cross stitch and variety show means me babbling. And a few videos ago, I mentioned the quote by Mark Twain, attributed to Mark Twain. I'm sorry that I could not, I didn't have time to write you a short letter, and so instead I wrote you a long letter. Maybe this will be an out of control video. Because I've had a very unusually, for my retirement years, unusually busy week since I made my video last week. And I don't feel as if I got much cross-stitching done, but I got a lot of things done life-wise. But here we are. You'll be able to see how out of sync I am as this video goes on. If, maybe I'll hide it well. First, I'll show you Snippet Tiger Stare by Charting Creations. This is one of my 2 full coverage pieces that I'm working on, and I've started over in the left side, which is over here. And I've just made it to that orange stripe, just started to make it to that orange stripe, and it's about 12.5% done. So what is there to look at here? I think it's pretty amazing that with only 89 colors, there's dimension and texture evident in this thing. And I've seen a picture of this one done. That is not just this I think is a photograph of the tiger that it was taken from. But I've seen a picture of the cross stitch done, which is why I ever got it to start with. It's amazing when you get to the eyes, especially. So last weekend was the 3rd weekend of the month, and my friend Leslie and I, and any of you who want to join us, are doing Christmas themed stitching. And we, on the 3rd weekend of each month, we both are working on the Nativity Scene by Stitchy Princess on Etsy. And this photograph doesn't do justice to what it actually looks like. So I was sort of stymied both by being busy and by not having this floss color, oddly, the color of this guy's robe. So I had to order it and go and pick it up and go and look for it because they didn't put the right color in the bag, and complicated. I mean, it wasn't complicated. It was just frustrating. I think I have every DMC floss, and come to find out, I don't. But anyway, this guy has no face and no crown and no bottom to his robe, but he's coming along. I also did a couple more letters and finished this fellow. I think his robe wasn't done last time either. I can't really remember. I had hoped to get all the way over to this next column. The last column has a sheep and then a camel. I was hoping to get that far over, but I didn't make it. But very, very fun to do. I continued my weekend into Monday because I completely lost Friday and Saturday. So this represents Sunday and Monday stitching, and this is, I think this is the 3rd weekend I've given to it. very enjoyable. I'm looking forward to continuing that. And, you know, I don't want to wish the days away, but it'll be fun to have the third weekend of the month roll around again. So come to think of it, I think I may be out of town, so I might not be working on that in April. We'll see. So the next thing I'll show you is, let me just get the book open. So this is a pin cushion. This is Blackbird Designs. This is from the book When the Leaves Fall, their new autumn themed book. And this is called Autumn Abundance. And there are 5 designs that go around this pumpkin. I mean, you make them and then you cut them apart in order to give them certain shape when you put them back together. And this is the one that I did. I've done just the one. And here it is. I think I showed it to you partially last time. Well, I finished it. I put my own initial on it instead of B. B was for Barb, one of the designers. I love this. This is, I made it to be a small, as for the smalls exchange of the Great British Sampler Weekend, which is in September, the end of September in England, which I'm going to with Leslie. Really love that. Makes me want to, makes me, so this is 32 count limestone Lugana. And I used the called for DMCs, 1 strand, 1/2. And I did the basket and it was fine. And then I started doing these light green leaf viney things. And I thought, oh, this isn't great coverage, but I'm gonna keep going because I don't want to redo the basket. And then I got to this dark and I thought, oh, that's not good. I don't like that. But I thought, you know what? I'm gonna be giving this away. This is one of the aesthetics of cross stitch, especially sampler style cross stitch. So I'm just gonna keep going and do it this way and not let it bother me. I'm just gonna not let it bother me. And now that I've done it, I actually do like it. It is very different. It's not heavy coverage, but it's nice. It's, I really don't dislike it. And every individual cross you can see of the cross stitches instead of it being blocks of color that have a more solid look to them. So I think it's really nice. And up close, I can see I mean, really, I was going to say I can see the imperfections in the stitches, but I can't see imperfections in the stitches. Not because they're perfect. So this is the last piece of the limestone Lugana fat quarter that I bought a couple years ago to do the Talavera design, which was a fox and rabbit free stitch along. I mean, it's the last sizable piece. I do have a strip about maybe 2 inches wide that I cut off of some part of it that I have saved because there are uses for that kind of thing. And not just because I don't have a use already planned doesn't mean I won't think of one. So that's 3 things I worked on. I think that is all I worked on, is those 3 things. I worked on cross stitch every single day though, but just didn't have a lot of time in any stretch. A couple weeks ago, I didn't do a video, you remember, because I'd been away for a few days to the quilt show and I had a busy week and just didn't do much stitching. And I was reflecting on that week and realized that at that moment, I only had 4 projects going, plus my weekend projects. And I had said before that 6, I think, is my sweet spot. So I started at that point doing this Blackbird's design, this Autumn Abundance motif. Boy, I just can't stop looking at that. I may have to stitch that again for myself. Maybe I'll stitch the whole pumpkin. But as I look back at that week, I think part of my problem was that I did have some time to stitch, but I didn't feel like working on the projects that I had available. So that's kind of an immature, undisciplined thought, but it reflects some of my recognition of how much variety I want. I want some variety, like I don't want 100 projects that are in progress, but 4 is too few. So what I had decided is that when I finished this Blackbird piece, I would start at least one new project. And so what I picked, I showed this a few videos ago, Emilie Kalwar, 1890. This is a reproduction by Hands Across the Sea. And I was attracted to this to start with because the stitching in it, the sampler part, or this alphabet part of it, is unusual in its color. It's not pure, it's not red, a red sampler, and it's not a true blue. It's a dark teal. And I also was intrigued by these multicolored bands at the bottom. And I also thought I might put my own name in it. We'll see. And I like this this ornate alphabet, and we talked before about the fact that the J or the I, one or the other, is missing from this ornate alphabet, and so is the Y. I don't know why, but that's fine. I think it's really beautiful, and so I have, as they say, kitted it up with, let's see if I can hold this in any kind of a way. Oh, it's okay. So this right here is the dark teal, and here are the other colors. So the dark teal is all of the sampler type part of it, and most of the 2 dark teal bands, and her name and the date down at the bottom. And all the other colors go into those other bands. And this is called white clay, this fabric, and this is 18 count Aida. Let me see, I'll turn it around. That's a pretty good representation of it. It's a cool tan color. Whoops. You don't need to see that anymore. You saw it. If you want to go back and see it, you can rewind the video and back up. But I don't know if I can get the richness of that dark teal to show, but I like that combination. I think that will look very nice. 18 count Aida, as I said. The only color I'm concerned about is this one, because as you see, that's almost exactly the same color as the linen or the fabric. But I could easily swap out a darker color for this. I believe that goes in this one right here. The bands on the top and bottom of that are 2 colors sort of vertically alternating with each other. And I think that one of those colors is that light color. So it might not matter, really. It might be fine, or I might decide it needs to be just like 1 shade darker than this, which I believe there is one. This is 3033. I think there's another one right in that section, which I can look it up on my wonderful DMC thread book, figure out if I want to change it to something that would make that band do what it's supposed to do, which is to have both, I think it's supposed to have a tweedy look to it, and it's supposed to be in contrast to the fabric. So anyway, I'm going to start that. I was going to start it last night so that I would have a little start to show you. I might have a couple letters or numbers or whatever in the alphabet in the top of it, but I realized I didn't have that deep teal thread, which is the one you start with if you start in the top. In fact, if you start anywhere, because it's a 1 stitch border all the way around. So I didn't start it, but I will. But before the next time I make a video, that will be there. And then the other thing that I decided I'm going to start And I'm not quite ready to do this. This I probably will not start this coming week. So I showed you the scissor fob from the Hands Across the Sea Nicola Parkman birthday box. If you want to see all of the contents of that box explained and shown beautifully, you should really watch Nicola Parkman's video where she unboxes it, because of course she chose those items and they mean something to her. They represent things that mean something to her. And the way she explained it all and showed it and said why she was attracted to these different samplers makes it even more intriguing and interesting and fun. And I think that video was put out maybe around 10 days ago. Now, if you're still waiting, if you have ordered a box and you don't have it yet, you have to decide if you want it to be spoilered. And in fact, you're going to have to look away for a moment because I'm going to show you one of the samplers in it, or one item from it and one of the samplers charts in it in just a few minutes. So, sorry. And I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to claim to be spending only 1 minute because that didn't work last time, did it? That was silly of me to think that. I didn't watch the clock after when I was editing the video later, and I realized that it was 2 minutes, almost 2 minutes. Emily, just don't even pretend. You aren't going to be able to be successful. So anyway, I'm going to about to show you this, but by now, even in the Facebook group that's related to this, I think the people who are still waiting for their boxes are mostly people in Australia by now, and there are a few people whose boxes are in Chicago. So there may be some of you who've ordered that box and haven't received it yet. But I'm only showing you these two things, so I don't think it'll totally spoil the box. I hope not. So one thing I'm going to show you is this sampler. So this is the French from France, Mathilde, or Mathilde, and it's in two colors, red and blue, which the charting is for a color. It's a DMC color, which is actually this color. Yes, is that right? Yeah, this color, which I would call it an orangey. It's sort of orange, not red. And then the green or the blue that's in it, I would say is more of a green. So it may be more like this. It might be more sort of like this. And that's nice. I think that's very nice. But one of the other things that was given in the box, it was included in the box, is this little linen bag, and in it, related to France, as if you were going shopping in Paris at the Auvers outlet, are 3 shades of red 103s. And so I've decided I want to do this sampler, and I want to do it in one of these reds. And I also have another choice, which is this red, which is the one I did, the red I used for Eliza Stringer H6. So these numbers, this one that I've used already is number 500. And this one is 384. It's sort of a darker red, claret-ish color. This one is number 681. And this one is number 779. And they're all 3 beautiful, plus the one I already had used. Very nice reds. Here they are. Here the 4 are. And what I did, because I don't have a blue and I don't have a local needlework shop to go and pick one, is I ordered from Hobby House Needleworks, I think, a piece of Tabby Cat Linens, just the ticket, which is one of the linens that several of the models for the Nicola Parkman birthday box were stitched on, one of the linens that the models were stitched on. That's correct. I want to be sure I got my grammar right. And I ordered 2 different blues, thinking that one of them would match with one of these reds, and either the 40 count, just the ticket that I ordered, or some other piece of fabric that I have here. So in the box, which I have right back here, isn't that gorgeous color? I'm not going to pick it up because it's a bad size for my hand, but it is a beautiful color. I've begun to collect fabric that I think would be suitable. And I think I maybe mentioned this last time, based on watching her video, Nicola's video about this, kind of makes me want to stitch all of them. There are 8 different samplers. 7 of them are pertinent to the tour around Europe idea, concept. This is one. So I'm going to start with this one, but not right away because I'm still waiting for thread and then inspiration about which fabric. And I'm actually waiting for another couple pieces of fabric that I am going to audition. I ordered some more of the sampler neutral type fabrics from Cedar River Linen and Design that I showed you last week. And so those are, in a month or so, those will have arrived. And I am expecting a piece of fabric from Fox and Rabbit, the Patreon reward, quarterly reward is, normally for me, I chose to have 1 project bag and a fat quarter of linen, or in my case, 18 count Aida. But because of some issues with their situation over there, this time it will be 2 fat quarters. So my second fat quarter, I've asked if it could be 40 count, sampler-ish, something or other. So we'll see what they send. And whatever it is, I think it'll be really nice. I've liked all the linen and Aida that I've seen that they've done. So a new start this week will be Emilie Kalwar, and soon will be Mathilde. I don't know how to say that. I'll have to listen to Nicola say it again. So what else? What is the variety show today? There is one. First of all, I'm going to show you one of the things, a sample of one of the things that I've been working on. And I'm going to show this one because by the time Cindy and I do another quilting video, this will have already been mailed off to my great niece. But this is a little baby quilt that I made. And if you watch the quilting video, you know that I have 6 panels like this. This is one of 6 panels that each feature an animal in the middle and then quilt squares around top and bottom or side to side that were supposed to go in a gigantic quilt that I have decided to make into individual little baby quilts. So this is about 33 inches square, and the fabric is, there's a pattern called, I don't know, it's sort of a Noah's Ark idea, except that it's only one of each animal, each of 12 animals. And so I have 6 of them done, but I thought I would finish that up. I just added a border of one of the fabrics that's in the side pieces, and then I chose this for binding, and I quilted it on our long arm machine. I did 2 at a time. I loaded a piece of backing fabric and a piece of batting, and then I did 2 at a time. And really, it doesn't take long to quilt that. It's the loading and the binding that takes the time. So that's done. I'm going to put a nice label on it and send that off to my great niece. And if I get it to her soon, it'll be before Easter. And there's sort of an Easter bunny. I mean, there is a bunny on it, which you could think of as an Easter bunny. Another one I have ready because I have another great niece coming. If any of my family watches, yeah, well, you're going to not be totally surprised then, are you? I think one of my nieces watches from time to time. anyway, I have another one that's completely ready, and I have 2 more that I just have to sew the binding. And one of them will be for another great niece, again, about to be born in the next few months. And the 4th one will be, I'm donating it to our church's mission team that's going to Kenya this summer, medical mission team. And there's a craft sale coming up that they're doing as a fundraiser. So I'm going to donate one of these quilts to that. I haven't figured out what I'm going to recommend they charge for it. To quilt that size, based on our formula for free motion, hand-guided, edge-to-edge, open, not too dense quilting, which is what we like to do. It looks good on all quilts. If it's a quilt that you're going to use, or that it's a casual quilt, it is an excellent way to have your quilt quilted. That at 2 cents per square inch would be around $25, a little less than $25 for the quilting itself. And then, of course, there's the materials and the binding. The binding locally, I think it's 30 cents per inch for the binding. So that's about, I don't know, that's a lot of money for the binding. That's if I had taken the quilt to my local quilt shop and said, please quilt this for me and bind it. So I don't know how that would play in. That doesn't count. It doesn't account for the fact that it's a fundraiser, and maybe people would be willing to pay more than the actual value of something because they're contributing to a good cause. Don't know. But I think the quilt that I'm going to give for the fundraiser is a goose. It's quite cute. All right. Now, here's the Mark Twain part, because I did prepare all of that. Now, here's where I'm a little sketchy. I was thinking, what can the variety show be today? I haven't had time to think about the variety show, so I could have told you about how American tax system works with, if you have an accountant, what you have to do, because that's one of the things I worked on this week. Or I could tell you about how my retirement integrates with my still volunteering at our church, since I used to work for our church, because I had a meeting and some prep for it this week. I could tell you about our cooking group history, which I will probably tell you sometime when I am talking about recipes, because we had that this week and I fixed a rice pilaf that I had not fixed before. It's delicious. But what I really am about to do as soon as the video is over is put a bunch of things away and get ready to have another couple over. Actually, probably more people over, and one of them will bring her dog. And we're going to have games and supper and then more games. And so I'll tell you how I am thinking about games for this particular grouping. So these people, they're a little older than we are, the couple who's coming, and they love games. They play all kinds of games. We have introduced them to games that they have loved, and they've introduced us to games, and we get together as often, every 3 or 4 weeks and play games together. We haven't seen them in a while, so I'm sure there'll be plenty of time talking. But here's what's going on. I have some new games, and I have some games that we've played before, and I have some games that are favorites of ours to play with people that are easy to teach. So we'll start with a new game. This is called Splitter. It's for 1 to 12 players, so it's a great game. It scales up very nicely. I think really it could be for more than 12. It does not take long to play. Whoever's turn it is rolls the dice, and then you have to put the values of those dice in a symmetrical way on your grid, and then in the end, you're trying to collect points for having combinations. Simple, straightforward. Anybody can play it. You're not waiting around for other people's turns, which is one of the things we like about games. Qwixx is another similar game. in that somebody's rolling dice and everybody gets to do something with that dice roll, and then it becomes someone else's turn. And you write your score on this pad, score pad, and your goal is to maximize bonus points by having more dice in a sequence in any given color than your opponents do, or that just meets certain criteria. I've talked about this game, No Thanks, before. It's a quick card game. I've mentioned it before. You can look in the description fields for videos because I list what I talk about in each video in the description field. But basically, everybody has some little chips that are small enough to hide in your hand so you don't know how many chips each other has. And a card gets turned over, and if it's your turn to choose, you either take that card, in which case those points count against you, unless you can combine it with certain other cards in your layout. Or if you don't want the card, you put a chip on it. And at the end of the round, you total up the points, and you want the lowest score possible, and the number of chips you still have reduces the points that you have to score, so it makes your score better if you're able to retain some chips. It's a great little game. Another game I think I've mentioned before is the game Perudo. It's also called Liar's Dice. I mean, this was published years ago, and this is by Reveal Entertainment, but this is not available in this form anymore. I'm not 100% certain the game is available, actually, if it's still in print. Certainly is not in print like this, but the idea of Liar's Dice is still around. If you search for Liar's Dice on Amazon, you can probably find something that's similar to this. Here, each person has a cup of 5 dice. You roll the dice. You have to say how many of a certain denomination of dice you think there are at the table among all the people who have rolled. And then the next person has to say a higher bid, and the next person higher, and so on, until somebody basically calls the bid by accusing the previous person of lying. And if whatever they said is not true of the dice at the table, they lose a die. So they lose information for the next round. And then in the end, whoever has dice left when no one else does is the winner. The best liar, basically, or the best predictor. I've mentioned this game before. We really do enjoy this game. It's a game of logical deduction. You're trying to determine which tiles your opponents are holding. But every time you guess, you risk having to expose one of your tiles so they can see one that you're holding. And there are rules about how you lay out your tiles, such that if you give information about a particular tile, if you have to reveal a tile, you might be giving information about other tiles you have. That's a good game. Bohnanza. This is a game, I think it may be 25 years old now. Maybe older. We've had it quite a while. This particular one, the copyright is 2000, so something like 25 years old. It's originally in Germany, made in Germany. It's translated to many, many, many languages, and it's a competitive game of growing beans, and scoring points by planting and selling bean crops, but you need each other. There is a trading period involved that you have to trade, or you can trade. You can try to negotiate a trade for different bean cards from your opponents. So it's a pretty interesting game because the interaction is interesting. The Crew. This is a cooperative trick-taking card game. And I know I've mentioned this within the past 6 videos or so. We can't remember if we've played this with the guests who are coming later today. I think we have. Byron doesn't think we have. But again, cooperative, meaning everybody together is trying to beat the game. Trick-taking, and that you're playing cards to a trick, and the goals have to do with winning tricks that have certain characteristics or winning them with cards, certain cards or whatever. Now the centerpiece of what we do today is going to be a game called 42. And if you're from Texas, as I understand it, you may know this game. And I know I have some viewers, at least one from Texas. So this game is played with double 6 set of dominoes. So that's 28 dominoes. And I picked up one that's a double, but let me pick up one that isn't. So as you know, for a domino, there are 2 values on each domino. There's, in this case, it's a 5 and a 1. And the double 6 set goes from 6-6 down to blank blank. And so this is 5 and 1 or 5 and ace in the lingo of 42. Here's a 6 deuce. Again, we don't say 2. Heavens no, don't say 2, except I say 2 all the time. But the idea is that this domino has a value and a suit, but its suit depends on what the declarer ends up calling as trump. And it's a partnership game, it's competitive, so my partner and I are playing against the other partnership. And it's a mind-bending game. I have played it now. They taught it to us for probably 3 years ago. And there's a little app on the iPad that I sometimes play just to sort of refresh my memory of the game. Despite having played it many times over these past 3 years, I'm not sure I could teach it. But I enjoy it. And I get it. When we're playing, it's not a total mystery. So it's sort of odd. But I know we'll play that. We'll play 2 or 3 games of that. In that case, you're deciding how many points you're going to take, and the points are based on 1 point per trick, plus different dominoes that you take have points, which are bonus points, which are, or count as they're called, which are the 6-4 and the 5-5 are 10 points each. And then the 3 dominoes that have a value of 5, the tray deuce, the 4 ace, and the 5 blank, each have a value of 5, and they have a point value of 5. And so you're predicting how many points you're going to take. And you only get one chance to bid. It's not like bridge where you can go around and around. Once you've passed, you're passed. And there are other things that are not that common of bids that are putting more at stake. It's always exciting when you get a chance to do that. It's a very fun game, but my brain can't. I'm usually very good at explaining how to play a game. I just am not sure I could explain how to play this game. So if you don't already know how to play it, you maybe need to get our friends to teach you because they taught us. But we'd be happy to play it with you. But you maybe need to learn it somehow, some other way. Okay. Thanks to Mark Twain, this is a longer than average video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you found something interesting, maybe fun. Maybe you can go and buy yourself a nice set of professional level double 6 dominoes. They have to be able to stand on their side. And learn to play the game 42. Enjoy your stitching. Get a Hands Across the Sea, a small sampler. Here's something, get a Christmas project. And hashtag it with Nativity Sal, S-A-L, on Instagram. And work on it the 3rd weekend of every month. And join us in that, Leslie and me. We'd love to have company. That's all. Thanks so much for watching. Many blessings to you, friends.